For a long time, excellent cleaning performance was basically reserved for high-end flagship robot vacuums, but that's no longer the case. My name is Jamie Andrews, and this is the all-new Dreame L40 Ultra Gen 2, which carries a retail price of $649, but can be found on sale for well below $600. I've already reviewed the first generation and did a full comparison video between the two, both of which I'll link in the description below. Basically, what you need to know is the Gen 2 is really aimed at the budget-conscious buyer, whose primary goal is a robot with excellent cleaning ability. Dreame stripped out a whole slew of features to push the price point way down, while at the same time advertising increased runtime and a significantly higher Pascal rating, both of which we're going to put to the test. One thing they didn't upgrade is the all-rubber roller brush, which is the same one found on the previous generation, but the good news is their tri-cut brush roller, which I'm a big fan of, is fully compatible. I'll drop a link to that in the description as well, and I'll be including the vacuum tests from both rollers in this video. Starting with the carpet test, I used 54 grams of colored rice on medium pile carpet with the vacuum motor set at the highest setting. Dreame bumped the Pascal rating up to 25,000 pascals on the Gen 2, which is one of the highest that you'll find at this price point. With the included all-rubber roller brush, it picked up an impressive 53 grams or 98%. Now here's where things got a bit interesting. Swapping over to the tri-cut brush, I was actually surprised to see it only pulled in 50 grams or 93%. That result was unexpected enough that I ran the test 3 separate times just to make sure. Moving over to the hard floor test, I used exactly 130 grams of cat litter on my tile. With the all-rubber roller brush, it pulled in 126 grams for an impressive 97% pickup rate. Swapping to the tri-cut brush, it edged that out slightly with 127 grams or 98%. As for grout cleaning, the all-rubber roller brush performed well, and the tri-cut brush, well, it showed a slight improvement there too, which makes sense given the bristles are able to work their way into the grout lines a bit more effectively. One area where the tri-cut brush really does shine though is with hair management. 0 tangles on the roller itself and significantly less buildup on the ends compared with the all-rubber roller brush. If you've got pets or long hair in the house, that's worth keeping in mind. As for object avoidance, Dreame equipped the Gen 2 with their most basic system called 3D Adapt. The same system I reviewed on the L40S Ultra a few months back. It consists of a single front-facing structured light sensor, and running it through my object avoidance test produced the same rather unremarkable results that I saw then. It got too close to the shoe, completely ignored the USB cord, and it collided with the fake pet waste sample. Moving on to my second, more difficult test, things didn't improve. Carpet is always a much bigger challenge for robots when it comes to detecting and avoiding objects, and that held true here. It's the reason why I run all my tests on carpets. However, on hard floor it did perform a bit better. It could at least detect the object, but without a camera it has no real awareness of how close it is to it, and that's where it falls short. Obviously you'd want to stay far away from this type of mess, or you could run into some trouble. The absence of a camera also shows up when the robot encounters dark rugs or carpets. I set up a zone for it to clean, and it got the job done, but watching it approach a dark surface, you can clearly see it second-guessing itself. It just doesn't know whether it's looking at a rug or a drop-off it should be avoiding. Moving on to mopping performance, for my mopping test, I use exactly 4 milliliters of baked-on hot sauce on my tile floor, and I sent the L40 out in deep mopping mode with the water level set to the highest, giving it 2 passes to clear all of the stains. It came incredibly close to getting it all in just 1 pass, with only a tiny bit remaining right here. By the second pass, it was completely gone. Now I've been getting a lot of requests lately to wipe down the floor immediately after the mopping test to show what is actually left behind. So I've been working on incorporating that into my process. It's still being refined, but as you can see here, it did a solid job lifting those stains off the floor. Now before we get into the dock test, let's take a minute to talk about the dock itself. The water tanks and the dust bags are all the same size as the previous generation, so there's no changes there. What Dreame did is upgrade the dock base, which now features their Ace Clean dry board system, first introduced on last year's flagship X50 model. What they took away is the hot water mop washing function, and the detergent tank is also gone, though it is available as a separate purchase if you want to add it back in. Otherwise, you can simply add detergent directly to the clean water tank. So how well does it actually clean? Well, right after my mopping test, I set it on the dock for a deep cleaning cycle, and as you can see here, it did an excellent job. After a second wash, the stains were barely detectable. With the mop pads clean, I ran the drying function for 3 hours, and I was happy to find the pads were completely dry, and so was the dock sink. During the drying cycle, I measured a peak temperature of 131 degrees Fahrenheit, while drawing just half an amp and 48 watts of power. As for the auto empty function, even with a completely full dustbin, I had no issues. Same reliable performance as the previous model. Dreame advertised improved battery life over the previous generation, which is an interesting claim considering the Gen 2 has a higher Pascal rating, yet carries the same size battery. In my test, the L40 Ultra Gen 2 ran for 122 minutes before returning to the dock at 10% to recharge. I tested the original model using the same vacuum level and settings, and it was able to run for 136 minutes before returning to the dock at 15%. I assume it could achieve about 140 minutes if it returned at 10%. Now, to be fair, Dreame ran their battery test in vacuum-only mode and at the lowest suction setting, which may give the Gen 2 an efficiency advantage at lower power levels. But that's speculation on my part. Okay, let's move on to the pros and cons, first starting with the cons. The biggest issue, and if you've been paying close attention, you may have already spotted it, and that is this robot struggles to travel in a straight line, and it's most noticeable coming out of a turn. You could really see it during the carpet test, and it negatively impacted the results since it left sections of rice completely untouched. That's the kind of thing that should be fixable through a firmware update, and I really hope Dreame prioritizes it. As for object avoidance, at this price point, I'm not expecting a camera, but I do think there's room for a firmware update to improve the obstacle avoidance. It's the single biggest weak point on an otherwise outstanding robot. Now let's get to the pros, and the single biggest one is the price. At around $600, nothing I have tested comes anywhere close to matching this level of cleaning performance for the money, and that covers both vacuuming and mopping. If you have tile floors with grout lines, this thing performs on par with some flagship models, which is saying a lot. While a swing-out mop has become pretty much so an industry standard at this point, I'm glad Dreame held on to the swing-out side brush, because theirs is genuinely one of the best in the business. Navigation speed and efficiency were both above average, and I also noticed Dreame fine-tuned the swing-out mop around furniture. I'll be honest, I was a little surprised by how well the new dock cleaned the mop pads compared to the old one, especially without hot water or a detergent tank. It turns out hot water and detergent may be more of a selling point than actually a necessity. And finally, for those who care about smart home integration, Dreame did include Matter support on this model. Before I wrap up, I want to address one important question. Did Dreame make a big mistake by removing several features from the Gen 2? And my answer is no. I actually think the bigger mistake was calling it an L40 Ultra Gen 2, because that naming decision only sets up confusion for buyers and existing L40 Ultra owners considering an upgrade. Set that aside though, and what you're left with is a very powerful robot vacuum with class-leading cleaning performance. Yes, it sacrifices some premium AI obstacle avoidance and specialized mopping features, and yes, the straight-line navigation needs work, but at the end of the day, picking up dirt and keeping your floors clean is the main reason any of us buy a robot vacuum. And at this price point, this thing does better than anything else I have tested. Drop your thoughts in the comments below on the L40 Ultra Gen 2. Links to purchase are in the description below, and clicking them doesn't cost you anything extra, but it goes a long way in helping me keep these videos coming. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.